Hello and welcome to a new episode of Table Talk with Nils and
Sean.
Yeah, this time other way around, my friend. So today we are talking about the cave from Rebel. Rebel is from Poland, I guess. This is not a brand new game. This is a 1-year-old game, but we wanted to show you that we have games on our shelf. They are a little bit older and we still play it, right?
Of course.
So, yeah, this time it's again for the rules, for the explanation. Sean, is it your turn this time?
Yeah, I'll take over from here.
Oh, perfect. Like always.
Give you a break. So the cave is a game for 2 to 5 players in which players represent a team who is exploring a cave and trying to accomplish certain tasks. For example, you're trying to make discoveries, maybe climbing or descending down passageways, stuff like that. Now each player has a backpack section on their player board, and you can see here there's food, rope, camera, raft, and oxygen. You're going to need all these tools. At the start of your turn, players turn in one of these food tokens, and that gives them 5 action points that they can spend to move throughout the cave and accomplish these tasks. Now, as you might guess, the game very quickly becomes a management system all about managing your resources, because as the cave expands, you're going to have to find that you're going to keep coming back to the camp to repack supplies. So very quickly you're going to learn that's a major thing in this game. Now on your turn you might discover certain things, like over here you find something in the water. It could represent some kind of artifact or something interesting. You can dive in the water. This is what players will need their oxygen for. So they might spend a couple of points to use some oxygen and dive, and they would get this token that represents an underwater discovery. And then you might have over here, there's something of interest in a cave where you'll come here, spend a couple of action points to take a picture, and you've now taken a picture of whatever that was that you saw in the cave. The goal of the game is to try and collect as many of these tokens as possible, and if you look over here you can see that there's a wide variety of tokens here for taking pictures, underwater discoveries, rope tokens, which I'll get to in a second, and these tokens here represent narrow passageways that increase in difficulty. There's a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. Players who collect the most tokens of a certain thing will score points for majority, and they'll get bonuses accordingly. And at the end of the game you just count up all the points, and whoever's got the highest points wins the game. The condition being that when the last round is triggered, then players have a certain amount of rounds to get back to the base camp. And you're going to need food to do that, obviously. Anybody lost out in the cave at the end of the game is considered disqualified and they don't score. Okay, now the most interesting thing that I find about the cave is the whole aspect of descending and ascending to different levels of the cave. You have to imagine that this starting tile is at ground level, and then when players move through the cave they can come across these tiles, which are descent tiles. Basically means you're descending to get from here to here. There's a 25-meter drop. So in this case we look at the green player. In order for him to go to this tile here, he needs one of these rope tokens, so he puts that down. He has to have enough action points to put that down, and then he can cross. So now he's on the lower level of the cave, and he would take this rope token. Again, that gives points at the end of the game. This token here shows that it's 25 meters. Also, the first time you descend 25 meters, you would get these special chips over here, which are used for, these are like a one-time thing. The first time you drop 25 meters, you'll take this. After that, anytime you drop 25 meters, you won't take another one, but that's worth 3 points at the end of the game. And they have them for different depths. There's like going up to 200 meters. So now if we look at this case again, the green player is on the lower level. Now they would continue exploring. So maybe they want to draw another tile and they draw this one. So now the interesting thing is, okay, he moves here. Oh yeah, this goes there. So let's say he moves here now. you have to keep in mind that these two tiles are on the lower level. So there's also a difference in height here. So you can put another marker to show that there is a 25 drop between these two. And now to get back up this way, he would have to use another rope. But I mean, let's go back for a second. I mean, if he, you know, if this tile, let's say somebody was here and they happen to bring that tile out, you know, these guys are considered to be on the ground level. Now, if they were the one that brought this tile out, the gap would be moved to here instead of here, because it was the red guy that explored. He's still on ground level. Now to go from here to here, the red guy would have to play the rope token and descend a 25 meter drop. So it's a little bit tricky. You have to get used to it, but it is definitely the most interesting thing about this game. I think that adds a lot more interest, and it really adds to the theme of the game overall. So another thing that can happen in the cave is maybe you'll draw a tile, and you know, if you look in this instant, there's no possible way that I can place this tile because it has to connect to every tile around it. In that case, if the tile can't be placed legally, then you would draw a block tile and you just kind of fill that in. Now block tiles just mean that they cannot be crossed. They can still be moved onto, which you might want to do in certain conditions, but I can't go anywhere else. It just represents a blockage that you can't pass. Okay, so the game is going to end. You notice that there's 4 different stacks of tiles here. Now, depending on the amount of players, you're going to remove some of them at the beginning of the game, so they'll never all be out in play. But once you get down to the last tile in the 4 stack, you place that out, that triggers the end game. So that's what I was saying earlier about now players have 3 rounds to get back to base camp in order to be able to be considered for final scoring. Anybody lost out in the cave after those 3 rounds is out of the game.
Thanks so much, Sean, for the rules. Yeah, that was a blast of rules again. So yeah, let's go over to the components, to the material, to the quality of the cardboard is okay. The little tokens are also okay. Technically nothing wrong with that, but also nothing spectacular for me. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure why that instead of these cardboard tokens that represent discoveries, maybe there could have been like little gems or stones or just something a little bit more interesting instead of that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just a minor complaint, but I mean, it would have gave a chance to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, I don't have an issue with any of the components really. I mean,
yeah, it's solid, but nothing outstanding.
I like the artwork. I think the art's kind of cool. You're looking at the little tiny features of the cave here at base camp. You can see the crates and the supplies and everything.
Okay.
That's kind of reminds me of when I went into a cave the one time when I was in
with a lamp on your head?
No, when we were in Cuba, we went into a cave.
Okay.
It was cool though.
All these world travelers, Cuba, wow. Anyway, so for me, there's nothing wrong with the components, but also nothing, I would say, wow, never saw that before.
Yeah.
And that's the same with the mechanics. So it's just a tile drawing game. So you draw a tile while you are exploring here, put it here. You can decide put it here or here, that doesn't matter. And then you have to deal with the outcome of the tile. So it's a little bit of a, also from the size of the tiles, it's a little bit of a Carcassonne feeling. So, but you have to deal with what comes out, and you have technically no influence which of these tiles you can get for the majority of their tiles. So you only have to deal which tile you draw, put it down, and then you go there.
Yeah, there's a bit of randomness to it.
Walking around the cave is also really hard. First of all, you have to get back, and that depends very on your food you have with you. So, yeah, more or less the mechanics, there's nothing really new on that. The only thing I would say it's mixture of drawing tiles and point allocation system, because you have all alternate these 5 actions, and using how to use your or dealing with these 5 actions and thinking about how
being
you
most
spend your actions. That's a little bit of the breaking point in the game.
Yeah, I think the most interesting feature about the mechanics is, like I was talking about the ascending and descending of the tiles. I like that really creates a feeling of you going deeper down into the cave with that.
I wanted to talk about the feeling later. I have it in my mind. I think don't forget
I'm reading his mind today.
Don't forget to mention out and pointing out that the feeling in this game is really strong. You are always feeling narrowed, crunched into this cave, and feel, I'm running out of food. I have to go back. But anyway, now
we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I mean the whole aspect of the different levels of the cave. I mean, it took me a little while to wrap my head around that and understand it completely. But once I did, I found it made sense. You have to get used to it. For a new player, I think it might be a little bit tricky, but it does make sense. You will get used to it.
Yeah, then any other thoughts about mechanics, and is it new, innovative for you?
Aside from that, like you said, just the tile laying and the fact that you're trying to get discoveries, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Just try and collect as many tokens as you can, try and get a majority, and score more points at the end of the game.
Yeah, then let's go straight over to the critics if we have some. Yeah, and this is one of the, on one hand, very cool to climb down. That gives you a real feeling of going into a cave. But on the other hand, especially for new players, it could be a little bit tricky if you're climbing down or descanning down 100 meters and then you're going up to a break where you're on the ground level, so you have a drop of 100 meters. So you have to keep track of, especially if you're going around the circle, like you're starting here and going on later here. So that could be a little bit tricky, especially for especially for unexperienced players. So you should play that with a player who is really experienced in seeing these things. Otherwise, you can make mistakes.
Yeah, if there's one guy that knows it well, one person at the table knows it well, then they can guide everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not like they can cheat. I mean, you can't cheat with it. It's just,
no, there's no cheating.
They'll be there to kind of help see how it progresses, and that, it helps a lot.
Yeah. There's also no really learning curve in the game, so there's no benefit if you're a really experienced player.
Yeah, for sure.
So, do you have any critics? Other?
The only real thing that I found, I mean, this whole aspect, players start with a tent. And I guess the idea is, as the cave gets bigger...
didn't talk about the tent, right?
Yeah, I think I might have forgot about that.
It's okay. I know exactly why.
As the cave gets bigger, and maybe you got tiles that are coming out to here or here, obviously it's going to be harder to get back, because you're cashing in the food for the points to get back to base camp to refill. You have an opportunity to take your tent. And I'm not sure I like the whole system about how you have to... Like, in order to put my tent in my backpack, I have to sacrifice 2 slots in my backpack, put the tent in there, but that gives me access to these 4 spaces here.
I'm pretty sure no one can see that.
Yeah, probably not. Unless you're like a hawk or a...
So you put it like this in here, and then you get access to this.
The access here, these slots represent your tent. They're in your tent. So, I mean, you take your tent out, you can place it down on a tile, which gives you access to the contents of your tent. It's like a mini base camp, and you can rearrange stuff. But I mean, you want to refill your supplies, well, you got to come back, pick up your tent, take it all the way back to base camp, and repack it again. I just don't know how...
You don't have to. You can lay it out there and leave it there.
Yeah, but if I leave it out here, then I don't have access to those slots anymore.
Yeah, but then you can use your normal backpack. That's fine.
Right.
So you can take it as a one-time use only.
Yeah,
you can
I guess
if you want.
I mean, maybe I don't understand it. Maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like it would be good just for like a one-time thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Drop it down. Okay, then I have a little bit more equipment, so I can make that last discovery or something, and then haul it back to base camp.
Yeah. Yeah, that leads me to another that pops up into my mind. I wanted to say that later on, but now it fits perfectly here. So, for me, it's always a little bit fiddling. So you don't have to do a lot of during your turn. You only have to spend your food and then take your 5 action. But you always to keep an eye on that you really spend your food. So not always, but a lot of times I forgot to spend my food, and
You
then
forgot.
I really forgot. So yeah, really. So and after 3 or 4 actions, I think, oh yeah, I have to do it like this. So and
After
then,
you had to remind them.
then
I'm just bugging you.
so the same with this rope. So then you can easily lost track of, do I need 2 ropes, 3 ropes? So there's a lot of fiddling things going on, a lot of accounting, which
I think so.
which has obviously for me nothing to do with the game. So there's a lot of tokens going on and a lot of accounting your tokens, but that adds nothing to the game. So it's a little bit fiddling for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It is a little bit fiddly, especially when I was learning it. It takes some getting used to, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Once you get used to it, I think it plays pretty well. It's smooth, and from there, it's kind of like a race. Like, see how much points you can get in a certain amount of time.
Yep.
And using your action points as efficiently as possible.
Okay, let's talk about the fun of the game. So for me in person, the fun of that game comes out of the theme. You feel the same way.
It's very thematic.
Yeah.
Very, very thematic.
As I told you guys, always, every time I play the game, I felt a little bit crowded, and it's always the feeling of going into a real cave, managing your backpack where you know exactly you have limited space in it, and grab as much food as you can to survive and come back. That's where the fun part comes into the game.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, when you get back to base camp, that's your big decision in the game is, okay, what am I going to take? Do I need more rope? Do I need more food? Like, what am I going to take? Because you want to be prepared. And yeah, you do have this feeling, especially with this whole descending and ascending. You know, you really...
Oh, yeah.
I think it really creates the feeling you're going deeper and deeper into this cave.
And you want to go deeper to... because this depth level tokens gives you a lot of points. You really want to push yourself to going deeper. So the feeling and the theme is strong in the game. That's a fun part. The replayability that's a very easy answer. So there would be never ever the cave at the same thing twice, because you shuffle all these tiles. There are 20 of each in it, so and you take out a couple of tiles depending on the number of players, so there's no chance to get twice the same cave.
I mean, I agree completely. It's definitely, maybe playing it several times is not going to, it's going to get stale, it'll get old, but I mean, I think people who are going to like this the most are maybe a little bit more on the casual side, who just want a game that they can play. There's not too much cutthroat action between players. There could be, I guess, potential. I mean, maybe if one guy goes off in a direction and making discoveries, and then maybe you follow behind them and take those discoveries before they get a chance to take them themselves. I don't think that's the best way to play, because I really think your score will suffer.
Honestly, for me, the replayability, even if I told just a couple of seconds ago, that you never have the same cave again, it doesn't matter if you play that 1 million times. But again, there's not a lot of stuff going on. You have to deal what comes up. So, and there's no way to plan that ahead or think ahead of this one. So what blocks me from, or keep me away from playing that game again and again and again, is just draw your tile, place it down, and do what the actions on the tile. So it's a little bit of boring. So from that
So you're talking about like the overall experience then?
No, I'm talking about the replayability. If you wanted to ask me, would we like to play that again, then I would say, oh, it's like the last 5 other cave games as well. Drawing a tile and putting it down.
Yeah, the overall experience is generally the same.
Yeah, it's a little bit in between, so yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so
I mean...
I would put that in the replayability instead of the overall, but we can do that in the overall and directly go to our points. For me, it's just a good game, so just a mediocre game. But what really gets me, or what me always saying, oh, should we definitely play it again, is that you have to deal with what comes up. You have no way to make a strategy out of the game.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely strategy I think is very limited. There's not a lot of options, and the variety is a little bit lacking maybe. Like really you're just there's narrow passageways, your discoveries, your underwater discoveries, and your descending and ascending, which I think is the most interesting part. But other than that, yeah, I mean,
come on, give your overall points.
I would say it's okay. It's good. I mean, if you ask me...
You know, good is better than okay, in my opinion. Okay is really crappy.
Oh, I mean, I don't... It's an alright game. It's an alright game. I'd recommend it to somebody who's looking for something a little bit more casual and that's not very, in your face. Players are not in your face. But maybe for somebody like you, like something with a little bit more meat on it, I don't think you're gonna find it with this game.
Yeah, I need a little bit more to plan ahead and build a strategy, build an engine, and benefit later on from planning ahead.
It's good for what it is. I can't really say much more than that about it.
I'm pretty sure that's more than enough, and you know exactly what our thoughts about The Cave. Let me grab the box again, The Cave from Rebel. So yeah, that was our next episode from Table Talk with
Siobhan and Nils.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty sure you enjoyed it as well, and please.
Yeah, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe, and just watch all the rest of the great videos that we have, and hopefully we'll keep putting up more for you.
Is that your advertisement block right now?
Yeah, well, I have an actual commercial that I'm making. No, I'm just kidding. Paid advertisement.
Okay, see you next time.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.